First, I think what's good to talk about is if you guys have read the Incognito texts, that came out yesterday between him and Jonathan Martin. And what's your take on that? Because we had a debate last semester when this was all happening about that and kind of bullying in general in sports. But now I have a completely different opinion about Incognito after this. First, I think he needs some help, and he needs to respect women a little bit more. You normally don't hear me say that, but I mean, come on. He definitely needs to get some help when it comes to women. But what are you guys' opinion on the whole situation? Because I got a different one now after seeing that.
I have a completely different. I thought you were looking at two best friends.
Yeah.
Trying to figure out what they're going to do each night. It felt like I was looking at text messages from two college best friends, roommates, saying, hey, when are we going to go out? Which club? Oh, this isn't a good night for that club. Did you have any fun late last night after the club? And it was through the whole thing. And then towards the end, I skipped through some of the rhetoric because I was in the Kearns library reading this, and I had a couple females around me on the computers. I did not want them to be looking at what I was, especially when I started reading more and more. I'm going like, I better not get a look at, and then the first picture popped up of them at the strip club, and I'm like, I need to scroll down even faster.
Yeah, I saw that, the Jonathan Martin picture.
Yeah, and I'm going, Jonathan Martin got into a situation that somehow he got in too deep, don't know why, and he looked for a scapegoat. Mm-hmm. And I even saw that after the whole, hey, what's going on? Because they even text so much right afterwards about, hey, how are you doing? I heard about the story. Goes like, are you okay? And he goes like, team just got to me a little bit. Didn't go too far from that. And what I was surprised is I'm going to kill you and your whole family. That was sent from Martin.
Yeah.
Wasn't even
it was a
sent,
joke, yeah.
Wasn't even sent from Incognito. And they were trying to push it off as that Incognito sent it.
Yeah.
The whole time. And that's what I thought. And I saw that, I'm like, completely different. I could have not read any other one. He was the first one that said that jokingly. I think Martin, I'm going to take one from Darius. Martin needs to man up, and he needs to do it quickly because all these text messages just ruined his credibility. And he has no credible story to me right now anymore.
Yeah, you look at a young guy in the league. I want to say it was his second year at Stanford, and I don't think the Dolphins are willing to bring him back. And like you said, all those other teams that are kind of looking for a young piece that could still be a good player, they're going to look at those texts and see, geez, what is this guy doing, especially off the field? I mean,
yeah,
I don't know if we're even going to get anything from him on the field if he's not going to cooperate off of it. It completely blew my mind when I saw this stuff, because we did this whole segment on the bullying culture and the locker room culture in the NFL. We got hoodwinked because now we kind of look like the bad guys, framing these two guys against each other. But I guess they were best buddies, and it's just a weird thing. I don't think we've ever seen this in sports.
Yeah. I was going to say, for me, when I was reading the text, I'm like, well, this sounds kind of similar to an extent of what me and, like, my best friend Mark, like, what we send to each other. There's your shout-out, by the way. I know you're listening. It's like what we send to each other, only minus hookers and cocaine and all that. But it's kind of like how we talk to each other in the same way. And like that, I'm going to kill your family, that was a joke. It was like a meme that he sent him. And just reading this, I'm like, this is how guys kind of talk to each other, especially in the locker room. When you're in the locker room, it's like a whole different world. You got your own like vocabulary and stuff. But reading this, I'm like, this is like what kind of similar to like what me and Mark almost say to each other. Like, it's just guys messing around with each other. And even Incognito was like calling him bro, like, where you at? Like, most of the time, Incognito was asking Martin, like, you want to come hang with me and like the boys or stuff like that. And I think both of these guys, after this comes out, even if they are trying to get a team, like Adam said, it's going to be hard because you got to question what they do when they're off the field, especially Incognito. Maybe sometimes they were joking and being sarcastic, but still. I think, though, that both of these guys could find a home in the NFL, especially Incognito. He does seem kind of like a leader in a way, even if his off-the-field problems could come back and haunt him. I'm not saying I'd pick him up, but I think he does have a place because he is still, I'd say, close to being an elite offensive lineman. But really looking at this, I don't know what the situation was that Martin had, because I kind of just read TD Daily, which is the football version of Slam magazine. They released the best 30 of them, and that's kind of what I read. But I don't know what the situation was with Martin, but I'm going off what you said, Ryan. That, if anything, I at first I was more critical of Incognito than Martin, but now it's definitely flipped to where I think Martin kind of screwed Incognito over. And I don't know. It seems like kind of something that would happen in professional sports, of course. Professional sports is a whole nother world none of us know anything about. Yeah. The average person who is so critical of these professional athletes, they know nothing about. They don't know what it's like at all. Neither do we, as much as we watch. So, honestly, from what I saw and read, it was just kind of typical NFL stuff. Especially these are guys who are in the trenches. They're not huge names. They're not a Peyton Manning or a Tom Brady or anything like that. They're your average player who's grinding it out. And I just didn't see anything that would have been bullying, honestly. It was just two good friends. It seemed, like you said, I thought they were best friends. Like, I even went through Incognito's Twitter before the show, and me and Darius were sitting here, and from, like, back in, like, August or something, he did a funny picture of Martin in his car. I'm like, and he kept tweeting at Martin, too, and it's like, I thought these guys were real good buddies.
Yeah. And now we know why the Dolphins front office and coaches looked kind of brainless. Because to a coach, they're friends. Yeah. And now we know why they didn't say much, because, like, we have no idea where is this coming from, because they always hang out. So I'm more with the organization now that I don't think they had any idea what was going on. They knew what was going on probably after work hours, but they just thought best friends, and this whole situation just came out of nowhere.
Yeah, now I understand why, like you said, the organization, why I remember the locker room, they were all behind Incognito, and we were like, why would you support a man that's bullying one of your teammates? Well, because he's not bullying one of your teammates. Okay, then. I read the first 2 pages of the text. It was, I think it was over 1,000. I read
48 pages.
Yeah, 48 pages.
Yeah, if you're going to tweet somebody 1,000 times, they were pretty close.
So I read the first 2 pages, and then I exited out of it because I see what, as my lingo would say, I saw what they were on. And it was not football related. It was all about some ladies and getting the draws, just quite frankly. That's what they was about. And like you said, like all y'all said, it seemed like they were just 2 good friends. So I'm trying to figure out where did this whole Jonathan Martin now I'm being bullied. Like, I don't understand how that all just came together. And as far as their future, I'm with you, Matt. I think Incognito has a better chance of getting picked up because I feel like these texts, they show that first of all he's not bullying. Second of all, he was the one who was actually playing on the Dolphins. He was the starter. And like you said, he's closer to being closer to being an elite offensive lineman. Incognito, when the story came out originally, he was the one who was doing interviews trying to clear his name. Martin didn't come out till 2 weeks ago and did an interview, but still didn't say too much of anything. And then Incognito showed support for Martin just recently. Like you said, we was on his Twitter, and he tweeted that he supports Jonathan Martin getting back into the league. So really, Jonathan Martin just looks crazy in this whole thing. I don't understand. And I'm sure we're never going to get an answer, but I really am just going to wonder what made him want to, just do this. It's like he woke up one day and was like, you know what, I want to ruin this man's life. And then it kind of backfired and ruined his too.
Well, I think kind of what Ryan said might be the truth, is he did get into a situation, maybe too many hookers or too many drugs. I don't know. But he got into a situation that he wanted out of, and he probably kind of said something, and then the organization took it as the bullying, and he probably rolled with it. Yeah. I don't think we will ever know. I would be shocked if we ever do know. But this just seems like something other than obviously his off-the-field activities coming in question. This looks great for Incognito because what I got away from it is they were good friends and he cared about Martin. And because everything, he'd joke around with him and stuff, but it was just joking. Then he'd make sure he's like, yeah, you good or something like that. Like, you get home okay and stuff like that, or you want to come out, stuff like that. And that was all Incognito. And it really seemed like he was kind of just putting the kid under his wing and everything. Absolutely. That's what I saw.
Yeah, and it was even after when he went to the Jonathan Martin checked himself into the hospital. Incognito was right there, goes like texting him, and this is I don't even know if phone calls. We don't know anything about phone calls. He was texting me because like, hey, are you okay?
Yeah.
Like, are you okay? I know you're at a hospital now, and all that stuff. He was generally concerned, and I don't think I would see that from somebody that was bullying.
Absolutely.
Because that would admit fault, and bullies usually don't admit fault.
Exactly.
I'm interested to see how the media handles this, because originally they cast them as, and we included, we cast them as, I mean, this is a huge bullying thing, and I don't know if this goes on league-wide and such. And now we're kind of like, ooh.
Then the NBA
Maybe.
passed the whole anti-bullying thing, too.
Yeah. It'll be interesting to see how the media reacts.
I feel like the media, they're not going to react because a lot of them don't like admitting they're incorrect in the first place. So I feel like most of them are just going to pretend like these texts didn't come out.
Yeah, or they'll try and what I've noticed, especially with the guys on ESPN, they have a very fancy and a very effective way of kind of saying they were wrong, but they weren't really wrong. Like, oh, I knew to wait until the text came out to make a judgment. It's like, no, you go back and you said this.
Check the tape. No, that's not what happened.
So ESPN, they're pretty good at that.
Yeah, they try to be.
But I'm glad we got to get this covered because this is something we were, I think, all wrong about.
Yeah,
and,
absolutely.
Yes.
that's what happens when you don't have all the information. And I think, Darius, you said the best point where when that came out, and the media was just like castrating Incognito, and then the entire locker room was behind him. I think that should have been the first red flag that not too many people picked up on was, really? The Dolphins are all behind this guy who it sounded like he was a racist, and which I guess is, from what we've seen, is not really true, and a horrible person and stuff like that, a terrible leader, which I'd say, if anything, from what I've seen, makes him look like a good leader.